The diplomatic deception. Ambassador Elias Kane stepped into the grand hall of the Zalareth Imperial Court, his expression calm, almost bored. His black diplomatic uniform was crisp, adorned with the insignia of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Around him, towering reptilian warriors clad in ceremonial armor glared with thinly veiled contempt. The Zalareth Empire had long dismissed humanity as an insignificant species, unworthy of respect. Kane had been sent to negotiate a border treaty, but he already knew how this would end. A massive figure sat upon a throne of dark metal at the far end of the chamber. Lord Zilvar, Emperor of the Zalareth, leaned forward, his golden eyes gleaming with malice. His claws drummed against the armrest. "You waste your time, human," Zilvar hissed. "The Empire does not bargain with lesser species." Kane remained impassive. "Humanity seeks peaceful relations, Emperor. We believe a neutral zone would benefit both our peoples." Zilvar sneered, baring rows of sharp teeth. "Peace? No, human. You do not come here to negotiate. You come here to kneel." The moment the words left his mouth, Kane felt the air shift. The guards flanking him moved. Too slow. In a blur of motion, Kane twisted aside, avoiding a strike aimed at his neck. The Zalareth warrior's blade sang through the empty air where his throat had been. Before the reptilian could react, Kane's elbow drove into his jaw, shattering bone. The warrior crumpled. The chamber erupted into chaos. Kane moved with the lethal precision of a predator. The next guard lunged, but Kane sidestepped, grabbing the warrior's wrist and twisting until bone snapped. A third attacker raised a plasma blade. Kane ducked under the swing, driving his fist into the warrior's throat. The reptilian choked, stumbling backward. The remaining guards hesitated, disbelief flickering in their yellow eyes. This was no ordinary diplomat. Lord Zilvar rose from his throne, fury twisting his scaled features. "What are you?" Kane adjusted his cuffs, unbothered by the bodies at his feet. He met the Emperor's gaze, his expression unreadable. "You thought I was here to negotiate," he said, voice calm. "That was your first mistake." Zilvar's clawed hand clenched into a fist. "Kill him." More guards poured into the chamber. Kane exhaled. He hadn't planned on revealing himself this early, but they had forced his hand. His real mission was still unfinished. With a flick of his wrist, he activated the hidden blade in his sleeve. The Zalareth had just declared war on humanity's deadliest weapon, and Elias Kane was about to show them why that was a mistake. "Would you like any adjustments or refinements?" The Empire's deadliest mistake. Alarms blared through the palace corridors, the high-pitched wail echoing across the Imperial Court. The Zalareth had expected an easy execution, an unarmed human diplomat caught in a trap. Instead, they had unleashed a storm. Elias Kane moved like a shadow, weaving between pillars and statues as more guards flooded the chamber. Their footfalls were heavy, their weapons crude in comparison to the precision tools of humanity's elite operatives. Kane had been trained for war in the void, where every motion, every breath, had to be controlled. Against the brute force tactics of the Zalareth, he was untouchable. A warrior lunged at him, a plasma pike aimed at his chest. Kane sidestepped at the last possible moment, caught the reptilian's wrist, and twisted. The pike discharged into the floor with a crackling hiss. With a fluid motion, Kane drove his knee into the warrior's ribs, then spun, slicing the alien's throat with his hidden blade. Blood sprayed the marble floor. The other guards hesitated. Kane tapped his earpiece, activating an encrypted channel. Operation compromised. Adjusting strategy. A cold voice replied. "Understood. Proceed to Phase 2. He smirked. That was the response he had expected. His real mission had never been diplomacy. The Terran Coalition had long suspected the Zalareth Empire was preparing an invasion of human space. Kane's orders were simple. Eliminate the Emperor before war could begin. The palace lights flickered as Kane activated a secondary protocol in his wrist computer. The Zalareth had grown complacent in their power, their security systems predictable. Within moments, a hidden backdoor exploit overloaded their surveillance grid, plunging entire sections of the palace into darkness. Kane moved. His augmented vision adjusted instantly, rendering the world in crisp outlines. He sprinted down a side corridor, leaving the confused warriors behind. They would expect him to run for the docking bays, to flee like prey. Instead, he was heading straight for the throne room. 2 sentries blocked his path. Cain didn't slow. He grabbed the first by the throat, using his momentum to slam him into the wall. Before the second could react, Cain drew a compact firearm from his sleeve, a custom-built silenced rail pistol. A single shot punched through the Zalrith's skull, dropping him instantly. Cain stepped over the bodies. He reached the entrance to the throne room, placing a hand against the massive steel doors. Beyond them, Lord Zilvar would be preparing for battle. Perhaps he still thought he could win. Cain rolled his shoulders. The Emperor had made a fatal error in underestimating humanity. With a deep breath, he activated the door override. As the heavy doors groaned open, he stepped forward, his blade gleaming under the dim red emergency lights. This was no longer an assassination. It was an execution. Would you like any refinements or additions? Assassination and escape. The throne room was eerily silent as Elias Cain stepped inside. The towering obsidian pillars cast long shadows across the polished floor, reflecting the dim red glow of the emergency lights. At the far end of the chamber, seated upon a throne of dark metal, was Emperor Zilvar. The Zalrith ruler was flanked by his elite guards, larger, more heavily armored than the ones Cain had already dispatched. Their black war plate gleamed under the flickering lights, and their curved plasma blades pulsed with deadly energy. Unlike the lesser warriors, these ones were disciplined, their eyes scanning Cain with cold calculation. But they were still too slow. "You should have accepted the treaty," Cain said, his voice calm as he stepped forward. Zilvar rose, his golden eyes narrowing. "You were never a diplomat. You're an assassin." Cain allowed himself a smirk. "Correct." The Emperor's clawed hand swept forward, and the guards attacked. Cain moved. The first warrior lunged, blades slicing through the air. Cain ducked, spinning into the Zalrith's guard. His hidden blade flashed, severing an artery in the reptilian's thick neck. Before the body hit the ground, Cain pivoted, bringing up his rail pistol and firing a shot straight through another guard's eye socket. The corpse collapsed, smoke curling from the wound. The remaining warriors hesitated for only a second. It was a second too long. Cain grabbed a fallen plasma blade, its curved energy shimmering in his grip. He met the next attacker head-on, parrying a strike and twisting his weapon to disarm the Zalrith before driving the blade into the alien's chest. The scent of burning flesh filled the air as the warrior crumpled. Now only one figure remained standing, Emperor Zilvar. The massive reptilian stepped down from his throne, his gaze filled not with fear, but with fury. He unsheathed a long, curved sword, its edge humming with violet plasma. "I will rip you apart with my own hands, human." Cain rolled his shoulders. "You're welcome to try." Zilvar moved with shocking speed, his blade slicing toward Cain's throat. Cain barely dodged, feeling the heat of the plasma blade singe the air beside him. The Emperor followed up with a brutal backhand strike, sending Cain skidding backward. For the first time in the fight, Cain gritted his teeth. The Emperor was fast, faster than the others. Stronger too, but he wasn't trained like a human. Cain feigned to stumble, baiting the Emperor into lunging forward for a finishing blow. At the last moment, Cain twisted, stepping inside Zilvar's reach. His hidden blade shot forward, piercing through the Emperor's chest. Zilvar let out a guttural gasp, his sword clattering to the floor. Cain stepped back as the Zalrith ruler fell to his knees, eyes wide with disbelief. "You," Zilvar choked. Cain placed a boot on the Emperor's shoulder and shoved him onto his back. "Humanity sends its regards." As the alarms blared louder, Cain activated his extraction beacon. The mission was complete. Now he just had to escape. "Would you like any refinements or expansions?" Humanity's warning. The throne room was a battlefield of smoke and bodies. Emperor Zilvar lay motionless at Cain's feet, his golden eyes dull in death. The once mighty ruler of the Zalrith Empire had fallen, not to a grand army, not to a devastating war, but to a single human. Kane wiped his blade clean on the Emperor's ceremonial robe and checked his chrono. His extraction team would arrive in less than 2 minutes. But getting out of the palace would be another challenge. The alarms hadn't stopped. The Imperial Guard would be mobilizing, filling the corridors with heavily armed warriors eager for vengeance. If they caught him, there would be no trial, no negotiation. They would rip him apart on sight. Kane retrieved a small cylindrical device from his belt and pressed a button. The throne room's emergency doors slammed shut, locking from the inside. That'll buy him time. A voice crackled in his earpiece. Kane's status? Mission accomplished, he said, stepping over Zilvar's corpse. Exfil point secure. Affirmative. Stealth ship is in position. Get to the North Spire in one piece. Kane smirked. No promises. He sprinted toward a hidden side passage, barely avoiding the first wave of reinforcements crashing into the throne room behind him. The sounds of guttural roars and slamming fists echoed through the chamber as the guards realized their emperor was dead. Kane didn't look back. He navigated the winding corridors with precision, his cybernetic enhancements guiding him through the most efficient route. The palace's architecture, once a symbol of Zalareth dominance, was now just an obstacle course to his escape. As he neared the North Spire, a squad of warriors blocked the exit. They were armed with plasma rifles, their eyes burning with fury. Kane exhaled. He didn't have time for a prolonged fight. Before they could fire, he activated a second device on his wrist. A bright electromagnetic pulse surged outward, momentarily scrambling their weapons. In that brief window, Kane struck. He closed the distance in seconds, weaving between the stunned warriors. His blade flashed, slicing tendons, piercing armor. One Zalareth tried to raise his rifle, but Kane grabbed the barrel, twisted it downward, and fired it into the warrior's own chest. The last guard hesitated. Kane didn't. A single shot from his rail pistol dropped him instantly. He pushed through the exit and onto the open balcony. The cold night air rushed past him as a sleek, black Terran stealth ship hovered just beyond the railing. The side hatch slid open. Kane didn't slow. He sprinted forward and leapt. For a moment, he was weightless. Then his hands caught the edge of the ramp, and strong arms hauled him inside. The hatch sealed. The pilot's voice came through the comms. "Welcome back. You stirred up a real mess down there." Kane leaned back against the hull, catching his breath. Message delivered. As the ship cloaked and sped into the void, the Zalareth Empire reeled from the realization. They had attacked a human diplomat. And in doing so, they had made the deadliest mistake in their history. Would you like any refinements or expansions?